Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Folks, we're going to go with Star Wars Tales number 20, written by Rick Geary, called Luke Skywalker's Walkabout. Now in this, Gorm Meldoff, who's a kind of a bully on Tatooine, challenges Luke to a speeder race in the cage. And Luke Skywalker fearlessly accepts, but the next day when Luke shows up, he finds that someone has murdered Gorm. Who done it? Well, Luke now must prove his innocence and figure out who the real killer was. So with his trusty sidekick, Obi-Wan Kenobi, they go on the hunt. Luke Skywalker, detective, on the job. Now, you probably know what I think about this story, right? It's titled Luke Skywalker, Detective. It's in a Star Wars Tales comic. I like it. That's weird, isn't it? It actually wasn't that bad. Now here again we have another case of Obi-Wan and Luke teaming up and you're thinking, dang, it's like he knew he and Obi-Wan were friends. Not really, and I don't really mind all the instances where Luke meets up with Obi-Wan. There are very few of them, and it would make sense, again, like I said in my last video, that Luke would know who old Ben was, right? Because he had come across him, had some happenings here and there. Maybe Uncle Owen knew about him, maybe he didn't. Either way, though, Luke knows who Obi-Wan is, so I think it's okay for him to have a few adventures in his younger years. You know, we're still, a few years before A New Hope, so that he would have these little side adventures where Obi-Wan pops in and out is okay. I see no problem with that. And it also establishes where he doesn't even know if he died. When Uncle Owen says, he died years ago, that old wizard or whatnot. So Luke wouldn't know because it's been probably a couple of years since he's even seen Obi-Wan. And he doesn't know that much about him. So I like that they do things like this. So this is actually a Star Wars Tales that I can probably get behind. Now, you don't have to go any further to find the next short story because it is in Star Wars Tales 20 as well. It is called Young Lando Calrissian. It was written by Gilbert Hernandez, and in this one, Lando and Fleck go to the planet Meek to try to con the local townsfolk out of some very expensive relics. If you don't know it already, I'm a huge Lando fan. The only thing I don't like about this story is the title, Young Lando Calrissian. Ugh. Okay, so what? He's young. I wish they would have done Lando Calrissian and the Relic of Meek or whatnot. I think that would have been cool. Fleck's one of his partners in crime. They're going onto this planet to con him. It's actually pretty funny. I love Lando's character. I love how they're really consistent with how they treat Lando. And I don't think Lando got enough love in the expanded universe. This is something I'll talk about in future videos. But young Lando Calrissian, when I saw the title, I was like, yes, a Lando story, because we don't get that many Lando stories. Even in the comic books, we hardly got any. So I was super happy to read this one. Again, another winner, even better than the one I just mentioned, because it features young Lando Calrissian. And it's got a little bit of a twist, funny ending at the end of the comic book, which I think you'll like. But we're not done, folks, because next you have to go to the Star Wars Adventure Journal, number 5, written by Charlene Newcomb, called Turning Point. Now in this, Dar Haslip of Garros 4 has been accepted into the Imperial Academy, but his best friend was not. Oh shucks, maybe he'll get in next year. Well, just to celebrate, they go off on one little mini adventure on the planet and encounter something that changes Dar's mind about joining the Empire and joining the rebellion instead. Now, Charlene Newcomb had written a lot of stories for Star Wars Adventure Journal, most notably her Alex Winger series. And this is kind of connected to it. It's like a precursor to the Alex Winger series. In fact, Alex Winger is featured as a little girl in this. And I'll talk more about her storyline when I talk more about the adventure journals, which I think for the most part were awesome. And Darlene tells a decent story, you know, of someone who has one idea of the Empire and finds it not to be true and joins the rebellion. You see a lot of these stories here, but this one's not bad. And if you don't know, the Adventure Journal was done by Westing Games, and it's just fantastic. On top of role-playing stuff, they also did short stories in there too. Such an excellent idea that I wish Fantasy Flight would have taken up, or Wizards of the Coast, or anyone. Just a great idea. Speaking of Star Wars Adventure Journal, it's time to go to book 4 and read a short story by Patricia Jackson called Final Exit. Now in this, it focuses on the fallen Jedi Alaric Brandel as he does a little self-discovery of who he is now, you know, now that the Jedi Order's washed out, the Jedi are extinguished from the galaxy, and what's his purpose? Well, his purpose obviously is to get captured by Inquisitor Tremaine aboard an Imperial Star Destroyer, and then something happened. There's a little ending that we're not sure how it's supposed to end. Did this happen? Did that happen? What happened? And I like how that ended. Now later on, Patricia would go on to write more about that character and about that adventure. Patricia Jackson did a lot of adventure journals, short stories. Some of them I did not like, and some of them I did. This is one that was okay. It's the classic tale of a, you know, lost Jedi, you know, soul who's kind of given up on life, kind of sour about it. And, you know, even though we've seen that a lot in the expanded universe, this one's okay. Now, like I said, the Adventure Journal as a whole, wonderful, wonderful read. Delightful to read, every single one. Some of the stories were better than others, I thought. This one was an okay story. I remember liking it when I first read it. I haven't had a chance to reread it since. I mean, I skimmed over it before the review and went, oh yeah, this is this story. It immediately popped to my mind. Now that's one thing about the expanded universe. Even short stories, sometimes you tend not to forget them. You remember one little instance here, or what this happened here, and oh yeah, this is about this. This is what happened. I remember this. I like that part. So there are parts in here that I remember. I was like, oh yeah, I like the ending to this, I remember. And sure enough, it had a decent ending. The story overall was okay though. Now you can actually find this story in another reprint called Tales of the Empire, which collected a bunch of the Star Wars adventure journals that had already been printed out, and you know, people who couldn't get the adventure journals could get the paperback. I thought it was a really brave and bold move by Bantam to take those short stories and put them in paperback form and resell them to the masses. I bought it because I didn't even know what it was, and then I realized, oh wait, this is just all, you know, rehashed stories from the Adventure Journal. But it was really nice they put it in paperback form, and I wanted them to do that for all of them. Unfortunately, they didn't, but you can also get that book for very cheap online. I think you can get it for like a penny, you know, sometimes, plus shipping is really all you're going to have to pay. So if you want to have a nice collection of some of those adventure journals, Tales of the Empire is the book to get. Now, Inquisitor Tremaine, of course, is in this. He's kind of a well-known villain, established villain in Westing Games. I like how the Adventure Journal brought him into the story more here. And so he becomes a recurring character, not just for Patricia Jackson's people, but for others as well. All right, folks, that is all the time I have for now. See you next time with another video.